The 1996 NASCAR Winston Cup season, a long road of frustration for some.
He's just lucky I didn't knock him on his butt.
A year of disappointment for others.
I'm gonna show him something about momentum.
And a championship not put on ice until the last race of the season.
I'm in the wall.
This is the Hendrick Motorsports Museum, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, home of the 1995 and 1996 NASCAR Winston Cup Series champion teams, and home of the 1996 NASCAR Winston Cup Series Year in Review video. Hi, I'm Alan Bestwick. Thanks for joining us. For the next 90 minutes, we're going to take you back through the complete NASCAR Winston Cup Series season, start to finish, the year that ended with Terry Labonte being crowned the champion for the second time. Joining me now, ESPN racing analyst Benny Parsons. Hello, Benny. How are you?
Al, fine.
What a great year 1996 was.
Oh, and it was terrific, folks. It started with a bang and ended a great finish. 3 guys a chance to win that championship, and that's what you're always looking for.
Take us back to the beginning of the season to get the story started, and the year began with a couple of twists.
Some real twists. Dale Jarrett put together a bunch of guys with experience, but they had never worked together before, and guess what? The first NASCAR race of the year, they win the Busch Clash. And then what a story when Ernie Irvan wins 125-mile qualifying race, leading up to the Daytona 500.
And that sets the stage for our beginning point, the 38th running of the greatest stock car race in the world, the Daytona 500.
Daytona International Speedway. Big crowds, big teams, big dreams. Earnhardt, Irvan, Gordon, Jarrett, Marlin, and 38 others all paint an imaginary picture, seeing themselves in victory lane winning NASCAR Winston Cup's biggest race, the Daytona 500.
Everybody works for the Daytona 500 from the time Atlanta's over until the Daytona 500 gets here. So to win this race, you know that you've beaten everybody at their very best, and that's what makes it really special.
The 96 version of this classic gets underway with Dale Earnhardt and Ernie Irvan on the front row. It doesn't take long for the action to get going. Lap 11, Jeff Gordon gets into the outside wall, a wreck that eventually collects 6 cars, including Steve Grissom. DuPont Chevy needs a little help getting back to the garage area as the defending NASCAR Winston Cup champ leaves Daytona with a disappointing 43rd place finish.
Very disappointing. I mean, because we all come here wanting to win, and when you don't win, no matter what happens, it's disappointing. But, you know, finishing 43rd is not where we want to be.
Then, outside pole sitter Ernie Irvan cracks the retaining wall on the front stretch at lap 28, battling aerodynamic problems all afternoon. From then on, he finishes 55 laps down in 35th. Sterling Marlin, in search of the Daytona three-peat, only finds trouble with his usually reliable Run Pitman engine. They break a rocker arm while leading on lap 81. The Kodak team finishes 40th. Meantime, Dale Earnhardt leads late in the race, but he can't hold back the Ford Brigade. Wally Dallenbach gives Dale Jarrett a little bump that sends him in front of Earnhardt with 23 laps to go. Down the stretch, Earnhardt and fellow Chevy driver Ken Schrader can't catch Jarrett, who, in his first race with a brand new team out of the Robert Yates Racing stables, wins the Daytona 500, Jarrett's second career victory in the Great American Race.
Well, I think I appreciate this even more now since I won it. I know what to expect here, but this is great because this is a new race team. Todd Parrott, his first time as a crew chief in a Winston Cup race. And Robert and Doug to have enough confidence in Dale Jarrett to offer him a job, even though things didn't go as well last year as we planned for them to, really means a lot. This is really special, and I think I'm going to enjoy this one even more.
For all the excitement of winning the Daytona 500 for Dale Jarrett and his bunch, 7 days later, it's back to work at Rockingham, where pole sitter Terry Labonte dominates the early part of the race, leading 198 of the first 230 laps. But on lap 235, the engine starts to overheat. Terry has to park his Chevy with a cracked cylinder head. For the second week in a row, defending champ Jeff Gordon has trouble as his motor expires early as well. He finishes 40th. Down to the nitty-gritty. Bobby Hamilton strong in the late part of the race. In the lead, but not for long. Dale Earnhardt gives him a little nudge, and Hamilton goes into the wall and out of contention for the win. Earnhardt goes on to win under the waving caution and checkered flag because of a late race accident. Just flipped the Daytona top 2 around, and the other Dale Jarrett finishes second. But after the race, Bobby Hamilton was still steaming mad at Earnhardt.
It wasn't close. I mean, he took there off of me, then he hit me. It wasn't close at all. Like I was telling them, you know, I hadn't won 7 championships. I hadn't won my first race. I hadn't won 84 or 85 race, whatever he's won. But I'm smart enough to know you don't do that to start the season because there's too many races left.
We bumped a little, and I think we just came together with the bumps in the racetrack, sort of like the bumps up and down, and it was just close racing. Fortunately, he corrected and was okay there, and then he got in another wreck later on, so that's tough. But it was really close racing all day, and we dodged a couple of wrecks ourselves, and the car worked real consistent all day, though. It was just right there all day, and at the end, when I needed to bear down, I could.
Terry Labonte started from the pole at Rockingham, but for the second straight week leads the most laps and doesn't get a good finish. Now we head to Richmond, and once again, it's Terry Labonte on the pole. And while Terry Labonte was strong for a second consecutive week, so was Bobby Hamilton. The 43 machine stayed on the point for most of the afternoon at Richmond, leading 129 laps, the most of any driver in the race. It's a relatively incident-free event, although the intimidator Dale Earnhardt finds the outside wall in turn 1 at lap 372. Look out! He was one of 38 cars running at the finish, though, despite this little wrap into the outside fence. In the end, pit stops would tell the tale as Jeff Gordon beats Dale Jarrett and Mark Martin off the pit lane with a great stop. Gives the reigning champ a lead he would never give up, and finally, a victory in 1996. In fact, his first trip to the winner's circle since Dover last September.
We needed this so bad. It's been a tough couple races. We knew we had a lot of races left to go, and man, I tell you, I've been seeing the guys more. I wanted to make sure their morale wasn't getting down. I mean, I'm real interested in making sure this team doesn't come in this year and fall on its face, and these guys did a heck of a job.
But Alan, this one wasn't over. After the checkered flag flew, John Andretti lets Bobby Hamilton have a piece of his mind. John not happy with a late race bump. Lets Hamilton know about it. But in the process, makes more than a few people angry.
I told him I didn't care about how many times the drivers got mad at the drivers. They just didn't need to beat on my race car. And because it starts costing me money. If somebody gets a black eye, that's their fault. But when they start tearing up a race car, and especially when the race is over, it's a little childish.
On to Atlanta, where pole sitter Johnny Benson has to start at the back of the pack after wrecking his primary car in the final practice session on Saturday for the Purelator 500. But after starting 18th, the man in black, Dale Earnhardt, charges to the front early on and proves to be the car to beat. Can't tell that to Dick Trickle, though. He doesn't want to go a lap down. He kind of makes sure Earnhardt knows that. Everybody gets away clean, though, and once again, a relatively incident-free race. Only 3 caution periods on the day. Once again, the race comes down to a final round of green flag pit stops. With Terry Labonte running first and Earnhardt second, the Intimidator comes in with 37 laps to go and gets a terrific 18.8-second stop from David Smith and the crew. Labonte would stop 1 lap later. His team's efforts just a tick longer, and that split second proves to be the difference as Earnhardt picks up his second win in the last 3 races, making it 2 straight at Atlanta to become the track's all-time winningest driver. He also picks up his 70th career victory.
That last stop was a great stop. The pit crew did a great job. Good risk. You can't got to hand it to them. They just keep getting on top. Everybody says, well, last year, it's that number 1 pit position. We were in pit 13 today. We stomped them, buddy. We got them hard in the pits.
After that last pit stop, he come out ahead of me a little bit, and his car was really hooked up. Mine probably, I don't think, was quite as good as it had been on the previous set of tires. So that's the way it goes.
Okay, Alan, here's how the NASCAR Winston Cup points stack up 4 races into the 1996 season. Dale Jarrett only 1 win compared to Earnhardt's 2, but he's been solid every week. He holds a 50-point lead over second place and 72 points up on Ricky Rudd, who's having a terrific start to the 1996 season.
And you also see Bill Elliott and another surprise, Ricky Craven, kind of sneaking in there in the top 5. What a great start to 1996 for him.
Okay, folks, next up, Darlington, the track too tough to tame. Unlike the past few weeks, Flagman Doyle Ford gets worn out. 11 cautions altogether on the day. 10 yellows for wrecks alone, including this one that collects pole sitter Ward Burton and Ernie Irvan on lap 137. In the end, it comes down to a question of gas and who has it. Dale Jarrett and Jeff Gordon have the best shot at a win as the two swap the lead back and forth, doing some great battling for a top spot with just a handful of laps remaining. As far as fuel, Gordon can without a doubt make it all the way. Jarrett cannot. After a stop at his local Texaco station, that's actually teammate Ernie Irvan's pit, Jarrett is penalized a lap for stopping in the wrong stall, winds up 15th. Gordon, believe it or not, winds up with another win. Like Earnhardt, he makes it 2 wins in the last 3 races, and in just 3 weeks, leads from 43rd to 9th in the points, thanks to his second straight win at Darlington.
I never saved fuel one time. I mean, I ran it as hard as I could. I had to save my tires more than anything. So I don't know. I bet it's pretty close. If they say it's close, that means it's close. But you know, that's what wins races. A great team like this, they can gamble. They can make close calls like that. Great pit stops all day long. I mean, consistency was there, and this is a great day. We're real proud of everybody involved, and it's great to be in Victory Lane in Darlington, man. This is wonderful.
We knew we were going to be close on the fuel, but you know, we came here to win the race. It's way too early to be thinking about, well, if we stop, we can gain a few points here or there. You know, we came here to win, and we would have been kicking ourselves from now to the end of the year, not knowing if we could have made it or not. So Todd made a great call there, and this crew just continues to do a great job. We've run 5 races this year, and in 4 of them, at the end of the race, we've had a chance to win. You can't ask for much more than that other than winning them.
And you certainly can't argue with that theory, now can you? Especially coming from a guy who still leads the Winston Cup points. Anyway, next up, the high banks of Bristol, and unfortunately, lots of rain. In fact, the start of the Food City 500 delayed 42 minutes because of the wet stub. Eventually, Mark Martin leads the field to the green flag for the 3rd straight time at Bristol. After having an awful final practice Saturday and making lots of changes Sunday morning, Jeff Gordon takes the lead on lap 107. Those changes by Ray Evernham and the Rainbow Warriors proved to be the right ones, as Gordon dominates the race from there out. Scary incident for Darrell Waltrip on lap 333 just after a restart. DW gets tagged from behind, heads straight for the wall. Then the rubber fuel cell ruptures in his car, which is very rare, but NASCAR quick on the scene, and any potential fire is averted. The race, however, is a different story, as during the cleanup of Darrell Waltrip's accident, the rain continues to come down even harder, and with the event being well past the halfway mark, NASCAR decides to call the race off after a 40-minute wait. The leader at the time of the red flag, you got it, Jeff Gordon, who claims his 3rd victory in the last 4 races, this one in a kind of a weird way.
This is pretty amazing. You know, it's just not the same, I know, but it's pretty amazing to the way things have been going for us, and you know, I can't believe we just won at Bristol this way. This is amazing.
And here's how the points look 6 races into the season. The Dale still have their exclusive club in the top 2, but how about the Rickies? A great season so far for both Ricky Rudd and Ricky Craven.
We haven't talked much about either one, but they're both having a great run thus far in 1996. And there you see Jeff Gordon. Just 4 weeks ago, 43rd in points, now 6th, just a handful of points behind teammate Terry Labonte. Which, by the way, brings us to North Wilkesboro, where the Iceman became the Iron Man, as Terry Labonte makes his 513th consecutive start, tying him all-time with Richard Petty for most consecutive starts in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. And Labonte set the record in style by taking the historic green flag from the pole, his 3rd of the season. As is quite typical with North Wilkesboro, long green flag runs rule the day, and for most of the afternoon it's a battle back and forth between Labonte and Rusty Wallace, who swapped the lead numerous times. Then with 32 laps remaining, John Andretti goes hard into the outside retaining wall, then into the water barrels at the end of pit road. Wallace, leading at the time, runs straight into Andretti. The promising day quickly turns sour for the Penske South Racing team. After that, Terry Labonte gets a great stop from the Kellogg's team to beat teammate Jeff Gordon back onto the track, and the Iron Man holds him off for the final few circuits, and Terry Labonte completes the day in style, winning his 513th consecutive NASCAR Winston Cup start.
The difference was a pit stop at the end. They made a great pit stop. We beat the other guys off pit road, and we were able to hold off Jeff. I was glad it was Jeff behind me because we raced each other clean, and you know, he never got into me or nothing. And if he would have beat me off pit road, he would have won the race.
At Martinsville, Ricky Craven continues to be hot with his first career push pole coming in the Goodies 500. Terry Labonte, now breaking Richard Petty's consecutive starts record, appears to be on his way to a 2nd straight win, leading late in the race, only to have his brakes fail, relegated to a 24th place finish after a great run. My, how fortunes can change. After wrecking late in the race the week before, Rusty Wallace brings the exact same car to Martinsville, turns in another great performance, and this time avoids the wrecks, beating Jeff Gordon in the Goodies 500, the 4th time in 5 years he's won the Spring Martinsville race.
Well, I wanted to break the record. We did it today. Labonte broke Petty's 514 start. We broke the 400 road record. It was great. Just got the car right at the very end. It was not too girly. We got to fix it finally.
Let's give a call to a few other drivers for the performance at Martinsville. Ernie Irvan finished second. That's his best finish since returning from his accident. And Jeff Gordon finished third. That's 6 straight top 3 finishes. He's now second behind Dale Earnhardt in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings. And how about Jeremy Mayfield? Had his career best at Atlanta just a few weeks ago, a 5th. This week he does it 1 better with a 4th. Alan, he just gets better and better and shows more maturity each and every week.
Benny, you mentioned Ernie Irvan there. We went on the next week to Talladega for the Winston Select 500. Ernie Irvan won the pole for that race. Not much of a surprise there. What happened after qualifying was NASCAR decided to put a Ford, Chevy, and Pontiac on a chassis dyno to compare horsepower numbers. Sterling Marlin's Chevy, Bobby Hamilton's Pontiac, and Irvan's Ford were selected. And while Irvan's Ford was being tested, first a problem with the clutch developed, and then the engine began detonating, eventually blew up.
That was our race car that we have to race tomorrow. It was our race engine. Our guys in the engine shop has worked night and day to get 2 good motors down here for these 2 cars.
While also disappointed the way the testing turned out, NASCAR stood by its decision to conduct the tests, and in fact did more testing Saturday, this time with much better results.
There's always ways we could do things better and differently. You know, here at NASCAR, our goals and our intentions are to make the sport safer, number 1, and make it better for the fans. Close competition is number 2 on our list, and we attempted to gather some information on Friday that would help us make decisions to make the sport better in the future, and obviously it could have gone a little bit better.
Benny, it was unfortunate what happened on the chassis dyno, and Larry McReynolds was upset, but, you know, Gary Nelson has to do what he has to do.
I mean, the competitors want NASCAR to make the playing field as level as they can because they want a chance. If you're driving a Ford, you want a chance to win, or a Chevrolet Pontiac. They all want that equal chance to win. And NASCAR needs, in making the rules, they need to have some information. And what better place to get that information when the cars are in peak performance? They've got those cars ready to run 500 miles at Talladega. That's the perfect time to find out exactly what the teams have.
Well, they started the race, Ernie Irvan, without that same engine, but still a good one under the hood with his teammate, Dale Jarrett, alongside on the front row. While Irvan and Jarrett would lead the field with the green flag, they would not be the big headline makers of this day at Talladega. Instead, the story of the day were some wild Talladega wrecks. Starting on lap 77, Bill Elliott goes airborne, and pirouettes coming out of turn 2, the car slamming down hard on the driver's side. Unfortunately, Elliott breaks the femur bone in his left leg, which winds up costing him 2 months of his NASCAR Winston Cup season. That, however, was just the beginning. The biggest wreck of the day happened on lap 129 when Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin touched going into turn 1, setting off a chain reaction that eventually collected 14 cars, including pole sitter Ernie Irvan.
You can blame anybody or everybody or nobody. You know, it just it was one of those deals where you know, I was going for a hole, everybody was going for a hole, and it got real tight by the wall, and I don't think anybody could have done really much else. It's real unfortunate. You know, I never hate to get into Mark. You know, if anybody, I mean, Mark, you know, and I got together and we just started wrecking, but he didn't have any room on the inside of him, so you know, it's just kind of a squeeze play.
We just all ran out of room out there. There's just too many cars in one place. It's an unfortunate thing about having cautions. Places all of them in a wide, and everybody's kind of. There wasn't enough room out there for all those race cars.
From then on, the race becomes a game of who can catch Sterling Marlin. In the final laps, the top 2 in points, Dale Earnhardt and Dale Jarrett battle for second, which enables Marlin to keep the lead and take the checkered flag. Jarrett winds up second and cuts into Earnhardt's point lead, but for Sterling Marlin, it's win number 1 in 1996.
I knew I wasn't going to beat him, you know. My only hope was the lap cars getting away or something, and I thought maybe that was going to happen for a minute. But, you know, one-on-one, you just can't pass anybody here, especially a good race car, and, you know, that's what this situation was.
When I saw him get back there side by side, and I think it was 4 laps to go, I figured that we might pull off and get away from him. But if they ever got lined up, they'd be running 10 miles an hour faster when he got us. But it held off, and, man, we're just glad to be here. I tell you, it feels great.
After Sterling's win, all the talk was still about Ricky Craven and his scary accident. After the wreck, ESPN's Dr. Jerry Punch went to Craven's race shop to see just how he made it through the crash.
We've heard the priorities all too often. For NASCAR, it's safety first, then competition, and then cost containment. And no one is more appreciative of the fact that safety is the top priority than the folks here at Hendrick Motorsports and their driver, Ricky Craven. This is what the Kodiak Chevrolet looked like as it was about to start the Winston Select 500 on Sunday. Now what we're about to show you is what can happen at over 190 miles an hour in less than 3 seconds. And let me warn you, if you're squeamish, you may want to look away. That's the crumpled hulk of Ricky Craven's engine. What's left of it, I should say. The carburetor having been sheared away, some of the intake crushed, and the engine pushed completely to the left. But look at what's left of his beautiful Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Well, there's not much, of course. The roll cage, though, remained intact. This cage built by Mike Laughlin did its job. There were some openings here where it had been ripped open by the catch fence. Once again, the catch fence did its job, catching the race car, but it did rip open some of the bars on the cage. But look most importantly inside. The safety perimeter, the cockpit of the car remained intact. It maintained its integrity. And the back of the car, a safety feature NASCAR put into effect many years ago. The fuel cell remained intact somehow, and there was no risk of fire. Now let's look at the driver's side. Now take a look at the outside on the left side of the car. The car actually came down on the asphalt, on the pavement itself. There is pavement ground into the B-pillar here, right behind the driver's seat. This is asphalt, folks, from Talladega Superspeedway. Take a look at the window net here. It did its job, although it took quite a beating and was bowed when the car came off the fence and tumbled down onto the racetrack. But most importantly, look inside the race car. You see this seat right here? In the back of the seat it says Butler Built Energy Impact Systems. That's exactly what it did. The seat absorbed the energy, the roll cage kept Ricky Craven safe, and folks, Ricky Craven can walk away. He's very lucky. He's lucky because the sanctioning body has rules, and his race team, Charlie Presley, Larry Hedrick and company, they followed him to the letter.
My wife, she's really concerned. She got upset enough after the accident that she gave me this, and I want to make that clear. This didn't happen in the wreck. My wife did that to me.
Ricky Craven basically okay after the crash, as you just saw, but they had to go racing on the road course a week later at Sears Point. He wasn't quite ready for that.
Craven has NASCAR Truck Series competitor Ron Hornaday standing by to take over the car after the first lap. At the first of 2 NASCAR Winston Cup road course events, this one in the wine country of California for the Save Mart 300. Terry Labonte leads the field of the green flag with his 4th Busch pole in just 10 races this season. Mark Martin, with probably the fastest car in the last practice, has early trouble with a loose spark plug wire. He has to make a pit stop on the pace lap and thereby has to start dead last on the field. Pole sitter Labonte, Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt, Wally Dallenbach, and Jeff Gordon all switched the lead back and forth throughout the afternoon. Then, on a restart with 5 laps to go, Rusty Wallace gets by Jeff Gordon when the defending champ spins his tires. Rusty then takes it all the way home from there for his 2nd win of 1996. The 2nd place finisher, believe it or not, Mark Martin, coming all the way from the back of the field, passing 3rd place Wally Dallenbach in the final laps. For Wallace, his first road course win in 5 years.
This was a real dramatic race today. You know, I haven't won road races in a long time, but every year I've always run great. And finally, we got us a brand new car. We named this thing Killer. So race fans, we got a new one. It's called Killer, so that'd be good.
Well, Rusty's day wasn't totally killer. He was fined $25,000 because his car didn't reach minimum height. It was only 3/16 of an inch short. NASCAR didn't see it as an enhancement. Wallace was allowed to keep his 6th career road course win.
Okay, Alan, here's the points after Sears Point. Dale Earnhardt still on top, now 115 over Dale Jarrett. Terry Labonte consistent every week, 5th at Sears Point, now only 131 back, with Jeff Gordon and Sterling Marlin round out the top 5. Now on to a race that has nothing to do with points, but nonetheless one of the most colorful and exciting events on the NASCAR Winston Cup schedule, the Winston Select. The first of the race's 3 segments is won by Dale Jarrett after converting the field segment to is won by Dale Earnhardt, which gets us to the 3rd and usually the most exciting segment of the Winston Select, and it lived up to its reputation this year. With Dale Earnhardt and Terry Labonte battling for the lead, Earnhardt gets loose in turn 2, almost wrecks both he and Labonte. The benefactor, Michael Waltrip, who along with Rusty Wallace, slipped to the underside to take over first and second. The younger Waltrip then holds off and really, in fact, puts some distance between he and Wallace as Michael Waltrip goes on to his first ever win in a NASCAR Winston Cup Series event.
I got on the apron down there and got a little loose, got up in the Terry. Luckily, we both didn't wreck, but that's when Michael and Rusty got by. Michael's awful strong, so congratulations to Michael Waltrip and the Wood brothers. They deserve to win.
I knew they would run into each other. I just was hoping I'd be able to squirt through when they did, and that's what happened. You can't blame Dale. Heck, you know, you're leading the race or trying to be leading it, and he just got a little sideways, and, you know, that's part of it. Uncle Mike was just sitting there ready to jump when it happened.
It was great to see the Wood brothers back in victory lane, but there's no time to rest. A week later, it's on to NASCAR Winston Cup's longest race of the season, the Coca-Cola 600, which is delayed by rain. But finally, Jeff Gordon leads the way from the pole to NASCAR Winston Cup Racing's longest event of the year. Lap 157, Kyle Petty and Ted Musgrave tangle on a restart, causing a pileup of 12 cars. Petty is penalized 5 laps for rough driving from the incident, and another 2 laps when car owner Felix Sabates comes over the wall to argue with a NASCAR official. That was not the worst accident of the evening, however. Johnny Benson gets in trouble in turn 2 and gets clobbered by Ricky Craven. Both drivers, however, are okay. The rest of the evening is dominated by Dale Jarrett, who runs away from the field, topping second place Dale Earnhardt by almost 12 seconds in collecting his second win of 1996.
Best car I've ever had racing anywhere. I can't ever remember anything being that good. You know, I'd like to take a lot of credit, but the car and the engine were just superior, and a lot of people could have won in that car tonight, but I'm just glad I was in it.
With the 600 win and his earlier victory in the Daytona 500, Dale Jarrett has now put himself in position to have a shot at the Winston Select Million. But that's 4 months away when we visit Darlington on Labor Day weekend. Next up, the summer grind gets going in earnest at Dover. For the second straight race, Jeff Gordon would start on the pole, this time for the Miller 500 at Dover. This week, though, his race trim was just as good as his qualifying setup, as he keeps control of things nearly the entire race. In fact, his only real threat is Dale Jarrett, but Jarrett loses control of his machine after running over an oil spot while cruising along in the top 5 to stay over with a 36th place finish. The 24 car takes the lead for good at lap 372, passing Dale Earnhardt, and holds on from there to take the checkered flag nearly 4 seconds ahead of teammate Terry Labonte, who finishes second.
We stayed out of trouble, got our way back up there, and that's what a good team does. You know, they get back after it, and they make good, consistent pit stops, and you know they made it back up for us. Race it, I saved his butt, but I didn't. I think he saved mine. He got the car dialed right back in for us, and then the rest of the day was great.
Next up, Pocono. The big story of the weekend happens on Friday in qualifying as Dale Jarrett cracks the wall in turn 3, breaking a couple of ribs and his kneecap on his left leg. In pain, Jarrett qualifies the car 28th on Saturday, but he knows racing 200 laps on Sunday will be tough.
You know, I'm just going to try to kind of pace myself, and the biggest thing is just how much the knee's going to be able to stand. As I know it's a lot weaker than what it normally would be, but I think that I'm going to be able to make it, and you know that's what these guys, they work hard to get this car ready, and I want to stay in it.
But Alan, the racing continues, and guess who's on the pole?
Well, let me see. It was Gordon the last 2 weeks. Could it be him?
How did you ever guess? Jeff Gordon, who gets his 3rd straight pole, 4th if you want to count the Winston Select. And once again, Gordon has one of the best cars come race time. On the other hand, for Dale Earnhardt, things aren't quite so good, as the 7-time champ has engine trouble, leaves the race with 75 laps to go, winding up 32nd. Gordon's toughest challenge came from Rusty Wallace, but when Wallace leaves the pits on lap 135, he loses the clutch and ends up 31st. From there on, it's all Gordon who dominates the rest of the race. This time, no mischief like there in 1995, as Gordon picks up his first ever win at Pocono, 4 seconds ahead of second place Ricky Rudd and third place Jeff Bodine.
You got to have respect for a racetrack, and I certainly do have a lot of respect for this one, and now hopefully it's got some respect for me. I mean, you know, we've been fighting hard to win one here, and we've been close, and you know, this is a tough track. You can't get the thing perfect everywhere on the racetrack, and so I think this is one track that a driver wants to win at.
Now it's on to Michigan, and Benny, guess who's on the pole?
Hey, that's a no-brainer. Jeff Gordon.
Nah, not this time. How about Bobby Hamilton winning the pole in Richard Petty's Pontiac? First time the 43 car sat on a pole since Bristol in August of 1979. As usually is the case at Michigan, fuel mileage is the story of the day. Sterling Marlin has by far the fastest car on the track, but at lap 188 he's forced to make a stop for fuel. That opens the door for Jeff Gordon and Ernie Irvan to move up to first and second. But with 10 to go, Ernie needs to stop for a splash and go. 1 lap later, Gordon does the same. So Rusty Wallace becomes Mr. Fuel Mileage. He inherits the lead and does everything he can to conserve gas over the final 9 circuits. Holds on to collect his 3rd win of 1996. It's not always the fastest car that wins at Michigan.
The stop before, the car was really running good, and I was saving a little bit of gas, but I noticed I kept pulling away from him too. And right there at the very end, I was running half throttle. Then we had to get after a little bit more. And then I noticed Terry Labonte starting to fade behind me, and I said, man, we're looking pretty good right now. So I milked it right to the end, and when it was all over, I thought I'd have a lot of gas left because I saved so much. How about only half a pint left? That's all I had. If I wouldn't save that gas, there's no way I'd have made it.
All right, folks, let's take a look at the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings at the midpoint of the season. Dale Earnhardt going for number 8 right now has a 15-point lead over Terry Labonte. What a comeback Labonte has made. And Jeff Gordon, another great comeback. Disaster start. He's now 3rd, 47 points behind Earnhardt. Dale Jarrett, Ricky Rudd round out the top 5.
And if we look at the second 5 in that top 10, Benny, Sterling Marlin, Ken Schrader, Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin, and Ted Musgrave. Interesting thing there, only 118 points between 6th place Marlin and that tie for 9th and 10th between Martin and Musgrave. So through 14 of the 31 races to start the year, things just as close in the second group as they are in the first. But really, thinking back on the first half of the season to this point, it has been that top group that's dominated everything.
You sure have Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Terry Labonte. And Terry Labonte only has a victory, but how dominant that car has been. And Jeff Gordon, a disaster start. We've talked about it over and over, but right now he has several victories and on towards that championship.
One had predicted Earnhardt would have several victories by this point in the season, but right now he hadn't won since Atlanta.
He's struggling a little bit right now, but I think later on in the year we'll come into Earnhardt's part of the season. Bristol, Darlington, that's Earnhardt time to shine.
Dale Jarrett's been spectacular in the early part of this season until we got to this last month or so. The month of June got to him.
Man, I'm telling you, Dover, what a tough break he caught in Dover. Hit that oil, crashed, coming off turn 2, and then goes to Pocono, and in qualifying crashes, breaks the leg, breaks the ribs. Tough break for Dale Jarrett. But now he is fine. He finished the season in good medical shape. He's on and trying to win that championship.
So we're through what is sort of the unofficial first half point of the season. 14 of the 31 races down. Now it's time to begin the second trip around to these racetracks. Back to Daytona for the Pepsi 400.
The Pepsi 400 was plagued from the get-go by weather. The race was delayed for nearly 3 hours as the rains came down. When it finally stopped, pole sitter Jeff Gordon led the pack to the green. The story of the day, other than the rain though, was Sterling Marlin, who started on the outside pole. Marlin didn't make it through the afternoon without a scare. He was leading at lap 66, then suddenly slowed, dropping all the way to 17th. Marlin thought the engine was gone at first, but on a hunch, popped his backup ignition on, dropped the car into 3rd gear. What do you know, everything was just fine, and he started his climb back to the top. Marlin made it all the way to 5th when the rain came at lap 78, forcing another caution. Once back under green, again Marlin's dominance continued, and on lap 87, he passed Michael Waltrip for the lead. Then on lap 100, the caution flag came back out when John Andretti and Dick Trickle got together going into turn 1. By this time, though, word had come that the rain was going to return. Tony Glover, Marlin's crew chief, decided they should stay out on the track, which ended up being the best call of the day. 17 laps later, the thunderstorms arrived, the race was called, and Marlin had his 6th Winston Cup win. Terry Labonte came in 2nd, Jeff Gordon 3rd, and Dale Earnhardt 4th, further tightening the points race. Earnhardt now holding only a 5-point edge over Labonte. But it was Marlin's day to make it to victory lane.
Everything fell our way. We had a little scare there early when the ignition went out and flipped the switch and clutched it and it kept running. So I've never walked to victory lane, so I got here for the car cover, so it's kind of weird. So yeah, we're happy to be here, and hopefully it's the midpoint of the season, and we can get us a couple, 3 more wins and try to get back to top 3 of the championship race.
The Jiffy Lube 300 saw Ricky Craven win his 2nd pole of the season, but after a disappointing afternoon, he finished 26th. It was a day that Fords headed up the top of the pack, and who better to see up front late in the race than Ernie Irvan, shooting for his first win since his near-fatal crash at Michigan in 1994. With Ernie leading with 55 laps to go, only the last set of pit stops stood in his way. After pitting on lap 245, his teammate Dale Jarrett took the lead. At lap 277, Kenny Schrader was the last of the leaders to pit. Ernie Irvan took the lead for good to make his comeback from near death complete.
I knew if we got the car right, and that's a lot, me being able to tell them what we need to do, and you know, I was a little bit short on that department, you know, because of not be racing for a couple years. So, you know, there was no doubt I could win a race. It's just a matter of when.
All right, let's take a look at the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship standings after that New Hampshire race. And Benny, for the first time since Martinsville, got a new leader.
Jarrett Labonte has struggled this year, but he has fought his way back. He now has an 18-point lead over Dale Earnhardt. Gordon just 116-point back, and Dale Jarrett, he's fought his way back. He's 212 out.
Falling out of that New Hampshire race hurt Jeff Gordon, but we can't talk about New Hampshire without spending a minute on Ernie Irvan. Boy, what a great thing to see him back in victory lane.
You know, I think we could probably do 10 minutes on Ernie Irvan with that victory in New Hampshire. And I tell you what, I was sitting there on the couch watching the race on TV, and I've never been so pleased at a victory in my entire life because Ernie Irvan struggled this year. You know, he really had some problems early on in the year, and you wondered, had he lost something? He finally proved to us all he hasn't lost a thing.
It was kind of funny that there were a lot of wet eyes around victory lane in New Hampshire, but none of them belonged to Ernie. He was kind of acting like, hey, this was supposed to happen all along, so what's the big deal about? But it was really nice to see Ernie back in victory lane. Ernie would be a factor again the next week as the circuit moved on to Pocono for the Miller 500.
The Miller 500 brought the NASCAR Winston Cup boys to Pocono for the second time this season, and on lap 2 it looked like it was going to be a long day. Jimmy Spencer spun in turn 3. Behind him, John Andretti got into Bobby Hamilton, starting a crash that also involved Jeff Green and Darrell Waltrip. Only Andretti stayed in the race. But after that, Mark Martin would lead most of the afternoon that was caution-free until at the 400-mile mark, lap 166, when debris in turn 2 brought out the yellow. In the ensuing pit stops, Martin's crew had a lug nut stick in the socket on the right rear tire. Mark was forced to pit again to get his tires changed. Meanwhile, Ricky Rudd came out of the pit stops in the lead, but it was Rusty Wallace with the better car. After Rusty passed Rudd on the restart, he would lead the remaining 30 laps to take the checkered flag. Rudd finished second, Martin dropped to 9th, Yates Racing took 3rd and 4th, Dale Jarrett 3rd, and Ernie Irvan 4th. For Rusty, his 4th win of the 1996 season.
I can't believe that I keep winning these Miller races. It's unreal. A lot of people think it's got to be fixed, but it's not. I mean, I've won so many Miller 400s at Richmond, and then those Miller 400s at MIS, and then here. It's awesome. I love it. This is my 45th victory. It's 4th this year, and it really feels great.
We move on to the fastest track on the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit, Talladega, and yet another high point in Jeremy Mayfield's young racing career as he captures his first ever NASCAR Winston Cup pole for the Die Hard 500. A rain delay of nearly 4 hours stalls the drop of the green flag. Fortunately, that wasn't the only thing to slow the race, as 2 major accidents mar the event. The first incident comes on lap 102. John Andretti loses control of his Kmart Little Caesars machine in heavy traffic. Eventually, the melee collects 14 cars altogether, though most everybody's able to continue on. The biggest incident of the afternoon comes at lap 117, when Ernie Irvan and Sterling Marlin touch, set off a chain reaction wreck that involves 11 cars running at the front of the field. Dale Earnhardt's car suffers extensive damage, sliding on its roof for a while. Winston Cup points leader Terry Labonte gets involved, as do a host of other cars. But without a doubt, it's the 7-time champ who gets the worst of it.
You know, our biggest deal is that Dale's okay. You know, he was really sore in his chest when I was talking to him, and you know, he was in real good spirits. He felt his shoulder was hurting real bad, but you know, for him to be talking to us and all, you know, we'll make up points or any other, you know, all that's second right now to us. He's okay.
The race is red flagged for a good long while, and with darkness approaching, NASCAR decides to make it a 5-lap sprint to the finish, which Jeff Gordon wins, holding off Dale Jarrett to the checkered flag, collecting his 6th victory of the 1996 season.
I tell you, this is an exciting win. I think one place that I didn't know if I could win at, you know, I felt like, Hey, I can win. I think I might be able to win on a road course. I might be able to win at Martinsville, but I was like, I don't know if I can never win at Talladega. So this is a really, really exciting win for us to take the points lead. I mean, that's just unbelievable, and it's unfortunate for Dale and Terry to have those problems. But, these guys did a great job. They built this race car, before Daytona in July, and it came here and was a great car here, too. And they really did their homework, and it was a lot of fun to drive from where I was sitting.
That 6th win for Gordon puts him into the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship lead for the first time all season, 9 points ahead of Terry Labonte. Dale Earnhardt, despite his big crash, stays in 3rd. And Dale Jarrett 4th, just 82 points down, very tight atop the championship standings. But Benny, Jeff Gordon in the point lead, remarkable from where he started the year.
It's unbelievable. He had trouble in Daytona. He had trouble in Rockingham, the second race of the season. He was 43rd in points after the first 2 races, and now 16 races later, back in the lead.
Let's talk about Dale Earnhardt's big accident, one of the nastiest I've seen.
Oh man, what a terrible crash. You know, NASCAR mandates an electric switch that controls all the electricity in the race cars. And Earnhardt is up on the instrument panel, and he reached up to turn that off after the crash and couldn't find it. It was down on the floorboard by his knees. That's how far it had been driven down by the impact.
One of the things that NASCAR does after an accident goes back and looks at the wreck to see where they might make a safety improvement. For 97, a new roll bar mandated from the top of the windshield all the way down to the bottom, right where Earnhardt's car took the bulk of its hit. For Earnhardt, that Talladega crash left him with a broken collarbone and a broken sternum, the chest bone, and a lot of questions about how he was going to get through the next several weeks.
The first few days after Earnhardt's wreck were, as you would imagine, quite tough for the 7-time champ, but Dale Earnhardt is still the intimidator, and keeping him out of the car is not an easy task, especially when the next race is one of the biggest of the year, the Brickyard 400. Earnhardt knows his 8th NASCAR Winston Cup title is on the line, but also knows he's not up to the task of racing at Indy.
I don't want to take a chance and do something to injure myself, but to take a chance and hurt somebody else or endanger somebody else's life. And there's a lot of guys out there with me that I got to think about.
The patented Earnhardt grin masks the man who's in constant pain. With the broken sternum and collarbone, Earnhardt can't practice much and has to let fellow Childress driver Mike Skinner take the reins, not just for practice, but also for the race.
Mike Skinner's our best bet. He's worked with Richard and the team. He knows what's happening with the team. He knows our focus here. He knows what we want to accomplish. He has his situation set for next year, so he's not got to worry about proving anything to try to get a ride. So we're really comfortable with Mike. We feel like Mike can do us a good job on Saturday.
But for one lap around the famed Brickyard on Wednesday, for just over 52 seconds, the Intimidator found something deep inside and found probably the best story in all of qualifying for this 3rd Brickyard 400, a 12th place starting position. One spot better than his effort in 95, a race he went on to win. But Earnhardt summed up his emotions race morning quite simply.
Disappointed. I don't think I can drive the whole day, so I'm disappointed, really. As far as, sore, hurt, just disappointed, biggest thing.
Benny, it's never a good time to get hurt, but for Earnhardt, the timing of this injury was particularly devastating.
Oh, it really was. He was looking forward so much to the Brickyard 400. He was the defending champion, and you're only allowed 7 test days in Winston Cup racing per year. He had used 2 test days trying to get ready for the Brickyard 400, and now can't race in it.
So Earnhardt's going to start the race with his injuries. Gordon's going to start the race with the point lead. Neither one of them's day at Indianapolis would last as long as they wanted.
Gordon leads the field to the green flag for the 2nd straight year at the Brickyard. And early on, it's a great race, with the lead being swapped back and forth and a total of 9 drivers leading in the first 32 laps. But for Dale Earnhardt, the competition doesn't last very long. On lap 6, the first caution, Earnhardt pulls into the pits to make the much talked about driver change. And for the 7-time champ, it wasn't easy, physically or emotionally, to get out of the car.
The car's real comfortable, and I wasn't in much pain riding along there, but, the plan was to get him in there, so just in case anything happened, I wouldn't hurt myself anymore. And dadgum, it's hard to get out of there, Jerry. It's my life right here.
It's also an early day for the pole sitter, who cuts a tire, heads straight into the wall on lap 23. Gordon spends most of the afternoon in the garage, eventually finishing 37th.
We want to win, this race really bad, but we would have settled for anything other than some bad luck like this. So I didn't hit it real hard. I mean, I hit it hard enough to knock some things out of it, but we'll be able to get back out there, I believe, and make some laps.
Another driver running up front suffers a cut tire. This time it's Kyle Petty, as Petty hits the wall and Sterling Marlin very hard, knocking both cars out of the race, and Petty out of the driver's seat for a few weeks with 5 broken ribs. It's Johnny Benson who steals most of the headlines early as the rookie leads 70 laps. In fact, staying out front for more on this day than any other driver. Benson fades in the late stages, giving way to some great racing between teammates Dale Jarrett and Ernie Irvan. With 6 laps to go, Irvan on the point, Jarrett takes advantage of a slip and shoots past Ernie to take the lead. He then holds off his teammate for the final few laps to win the Brickyard 400. Dale Jarrett wins yet another big race, picking up his 3rd victory of the 1996 season.
Car was great all day long. I was a little bit tight, and I saw Ernie was getting tighter too. I knew that was going to be a place I could make my move. He got in a little bit hard and a little bit high, and I saw an opportunity to get by him, and I just took it, and the car worked a lot better out front. Boy, what a feeling. This is just fantastic.
This is a lot more heartbreaking than getting the flat tire that we had like 2 years ago. You know, we really figured we could come back here and have a good race, and we did. Just fell a little bit short.
So Jarrett wins the Daytona 500, the Coca-Cola 600, the Brickyard 400, pardon the pun, but if you had to pick 3 to win, he was right on the money.
Yeah, money, $564,000 worth winning the Brickyard 400. You know, his father, Ned Jarrett, won 50 Grand National races, Winston Cup races, 2 championships. In his career, he won $350,000. So Dale wins 1.5 times as much money in one race.
And he's got a shot at another $1 million at Darlington come Labor Day weekend. Now, Terry Labonte's back in the point lead. Gordon's problems. Terry's back on top. And now we've got the road course at Watkins Glen next. And Dale Earnhardt gets out of the car early at Indianapolis. He says he wants to go the whole way on a road course.
Now, can you imagine, folks, turning right, turning left, shifting gears with a broken sternum, breastbone, and a collarbone? You just don't think there's any way in the world that Earnhardt can last all day at Watkins Glen.
And yet, come Friday in qualifying at Watkins Glen, guess who's on the pole?
I got a checkpoint over here as he comes into turn 11, and he's right up there with Ricky Rudd and Dale Jarrett. Let's see if he can do it.
Former 2-time pole sitter.
He did it. He's on the pole.
Unbelievable 73.054 seconds.
That's right, Dale Earnhardt, broken sternum, broken collarbone and all, suffered through 11 turns, both right and left, in a Watkins Glen course record of just over 73 seconds, and as if there was any doubt, secured his old slogan of one tough customer, and probably made a good bid for Terry Labonte's nickname of Iron Man.
To wrestle the car like I wrestled at that lap and put that effort in there, I told the guys I could do a little more than what I run in practice, and that was a 14.09, and to do that, I'm pretty proud of it. I sure hope it stands for the pole.
Of course it does hold, and Earnhardt leads the field to the green. The Flying Aces have NASCAR Busch Series points leader David Green standing by in case the Intimidator can't go the entire race distance of 90 laps. Earnhardt gets what seems like an early break with the first caution flying at lap 5. But instead, the Black 3 does not pit, and Earnhardt stays on board. David Green has to wait for another shot. Earnhardt wasn't just out there riding, he was riding out front, leading 54 laps more than anyone in the Bud at the Glen. But it's pit strategy that decides the outcome. Jeff Bodine and crew chief Paul Andrews decide 2 days before they would divide the race into 3 30-lap segments and pit only at the appropriate time. Even though the strategy is hard to stick to, it pays off when the eldest Bodine passes Ken Schrader with 7 laps to go, then holds off points leader Terry Labonte to collect his first win in nearly 2 years at his hometown track of Watkins Glen.
We planned that 2 days ago, 3 days ago, that strategy. We stuck to it, and it worked. Unbelievable. Paul, great. Yeah. That was great. This is fantastic.
I've still never won a Winston Cup race here. We had a great car today. The Kellogg Chevy ran good all day. We were close. Seemed like we were second all day, but I'm pretty happy to get back to where we were after that last caution. We had to come in and get a little gas. We didn't have quite enough to go all the way, and we lined up 11th on that start, and I thought, boy, we're in trouble, and I didn't know we could come up through there like that.
And then there's the exhausted Dale Earnhardt. After an amazing run going the entire distance with 2 broken bones, he finishes an incredible 6th.
I got to thank David Green for coming up and helping us out and standing by for me. And the car was great. The car, I was a little soft on brakes there at the end. I'd used them pretty hard all day, but I just didn't have nothing there at the end to run with the brakes, and I think the driver's giving out some too.
given out or not, Earnhardt, or Superman as he was called after Watkins Glen, doesn't get much time to rest. Next up, Michigan, where Jeff Burton gets his first career pole. Early and often, it's a Roush car up front, but it's not the Exide battery sport of pole sitter Jeff Burton. It's his teammate Mark Martin showing the way for most of the afternoon. Behind Martin, it was a wild afternoon as Johnny Benson finds out, spinning in front and behind Michael Walter. Lake Speed leads for a while, but his afternoon goes sour when he and Sterling Marlin get tangled up. Both cars are done for the afternoon. With Mark Martin still dominating, Dale Jarrett wants to lead with time running out, only 7 laps to go. Jarrett slips by Martin, goes on to lead the final few laps, and he adds another trophy and, of course, another big paycheck to an already impressive season.
Different strategies for different people, 2 tires, 4 tires, that kept us back. And I could make runs at them late in a run, but finally it was time to go there at the end, and the car was just awesome.
They were just good there. The 88 car was. I kept hoping there'd be keep being cautions because I could hold them off for about 3 laps. That's about what it looked like I had, 3 or 4 laps while the tires were cold. He was just strong. We gave it our best shot today.
With his Michigan victory, Dale Jarrett fourth in the points now, 137 points back.
Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt tied for second, 134 points behind the leader, Terry Labonte, who's finished third, second, and third in the last 3 races. He leads as we head to Bristol. For the 4th straight time at Bristol, it's Mark Martin starting for the Busch pole. Slowly through the first 100 laps, Rusty Wallace works his way toward the front from his 5th starting position, eventually taking the lead on lap 100. As is typical at Bristol, there were several incidents that made for an interesting night under the lights. But even with all the carnage, a surprising 34 out of 39 cars were still running at the end of the Goodies 500. Bobby Labonte, however, was not one of those cars. Running fairly well, Labonte gets caught up in an accident at lap 396, and, well, to state the obvious, he was a little upset. The evening belonged to Rusty Wallace as he dominates after taking the lead at lap 100 like we mentioned. Wallace went on to lead 353 of the next 400 laps, capturing a commanding win, his 5th of 1996.
The car handled perfect. Not only did it handle perfect, we just flat hauled rear end all day long. I mean, we didn't luck into nothing. We just blew them off today, but I'd just like to thank the entire team. The engine ran great. It was tuned perfect. It was reliable. The spring and shock combination was something that we all dreamed up. There was nothing like we've ever run here before, so that was all brand new deal. And boy, it really showed tonight.
Now it's on to Darlington and Dale Jarrett's shot at $1 million.
He did it! Wow, what a lap!
Dale Jarrett, 28.769, folks, 170.934, and the chase for $1 million begins today.
Jarrett withstands all the media pressure and shows them all he's ready by winning the pole for the Southern 500.
I know that we're well prepared. The only thing that I'd be disappointed in is if we get mixed up in somebody else's problems or something. That would be the disappointing thing, but I feel like we're going to give it a great effort. The guys have worked hard. They've given me a good race car, and that's all that we can do. And, we've got a lot at stake here with the championship on the line. So, we're going to go after this and hopefully make a dream come true.
Early on, Jarrett appears to have a dominant car. The $1 million appears to be within reach. The dream appears on its way to becoming true. But then Dale Jarrett's dream becomes a nightmare.
Got 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm in the wall. All right.
Jarrett goes into the wall in turn 3 on lap 54 after Ed Ferrier lays down some gear oil. The Yates team then pours over the car in an effort to get him back on the track. After several stops and a slew of repairs, Jarrett loses 2 laps as well as his hopes for $1 million. Doesn't pay to be in the lead. Jimmy Spencer, a great run going, leading on lap 179, spins in turn 2. His shot at a win on this day is gone. Points leader Terry Labonte also finds trouble at the track too tough to tame as the Kellogg's car develops an overheating problem late in the race. Labonte eventually finishes 26, 9 laps down. The dominant car in the lane going, Hud Strickland. And folks, I knew Hud Strickland was going to be good because I watched Happy Hour on Saturday afternoon, and he was the fastest car. After starting 10th, Hud would lead 140 laps more than any other driver in the Southern 500. With an overheating engine and on his tail in the waning laps, Jeff Gordon. After working on Hud for several laps,
Gordon gets around the Circuit City car with just 15 laps left. Hutt gives it a good shot, but loses out to defending NASCAR Winston Cup champion as Jeff Gordon makes it 2 straight Southern 500s and 3 in a row at Darlington.
And we didn't have a great car on new tires. Hutt Strickland had an awesome car on new tires. But boy, our car just kept on going, and I tried not to abuse it. And I know that, from experience of winning here 2 other times, what it's taken, that's to be smooth and consistent towards the end. And I'm pretty proud of the team and thrilled to have won 3 in a row, and definitely thrilled to have won my second Southern 500.
I'm disappointed because the guys worked so hard, and I knew that we had a good car capable of winning the race. But that wasn't the plan today, so they did a great job in salvaging the finish that we got, not losing any more to the leaders than we did, and that's what it's all about.
Our car was good. Our car ran good today, and we were okay. I thought we were going to be in position for a good finish, but that wasn't the way it was. So it's not over. Still got a lot of races to go, and like I said before, probably the guy that wins the deal will be the guy who has the least amount of trouble. Today it was our turn to have some trouble.
We take a look at the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship standings after Darlington. Terry Labonte had a 134-point lead after Bristol, down to just 24 now. Dale Jarrett in third, 91 back, and Earnhardt slips a little bit farther behind. Benny, let's talk about Jeff Gordon, first of all, at Darlington. 3 straight wins.
Can you imagine? Too bad he wasn't going for $1 million because it looks like he can win at that racetrack, proving 3 in a row.
Tough break for Terry Labonte. What was his problem?
The racetrack, the surface at Darlington racetrack is just coarse, and it just kind of peels the rubber, rolls the rubber right off the tires. It comes up, sticks to the grills of the race cars. They overheat.
Hutt Strickland had a great run, finished second.
And the same thing happened to Hutt Strickland. The rubber plugged up the radiator, the car overheated. At the end of the race, it was so hot it just simply wouldn't run. The crew told me afterwards the engine was a complete throwaway. It was a meltdown.
And what can you say about Dale Jarrett's troubles? That's tough.
Going for $1 million, and Alan, he probably did have the best car. Looked like he had the best car there, but you can't do anything about it. A little oil on the racetrack, you go in and the wall is so close, you go in the corner and boom, you're into it. Same thing happened to me in 1987. I go in the corner, turn the wheel, and I'm in the wall. Before you can even think about it, you're in the wall and your day's over.
Well, even though he lost out on that $1 million, it's still been a great year to this point for Dale Jarrett, especially considering he's with a first-year team.
Not even as big a dreamer as I am could I have imagined that we could have done as much in this short a period of time as we've done. I knew we had good people, good quality people that wanted to work hard and wanted to win races, but talking about winning them and doing that are 2 different things.
Jarrett and his young team backed up the talk, however, with several big-time wins. He won the biggest, the longest, and the richest NASCAR Winston Cup races of 1996. Most people in the world don't realize how close all this came to never even happening. Driving for Robert Yates late in the 95 season, Jarrett was more interested in starting his own team than continuing his relationship with Yates. But at the last minute, Yates offered a deal Jarrett couldn't refuse.
It's scary for me to think back of how close that was. I had the contract laying on my desk. All I had to do was sign it, and I had a major sponsor for 3 years, and just had to sell a little bit of associate sponsorship. But God kind of works in mysterious ways, and before I could sign that paper, Robert came to me with this opportunity, and I just thought this was too good to let get by.
Jarrett and Yates didn't let the opportunity pass, and with 8 races left in the 1996 season, and trailing by 91 points, Jarrett still feels good about the possibilities of winning his first and Robert Yates' first ever NASCAR Winston Cup title.
Yeah, we can. As crazy as it sounds from somebody that's only finished 4th one time and with a first-year team, but we definitely can win the Winston Cup Championship. We're in a prime position right now. Hopefully the chance will come along again, but it may not, and we needed to capitalize right now.
Right now begins at Richmond, where fellow Ford driver Mark Martin sits on the pole. Martin's lead doesn't last for long. In fact, on lap 2, Jeff Gordon takes the top spot. He goes on to lead 168 laps, more than any other driver all evening. On lap 46, Ernie Irvan has ignition trouble, dropping back through the pack. Until he pops on the second ignition, the car refires. Ernie's back on his way. Bill Elliott appears on his way to his best finish since his accident at Talladega in May. Running in the top 10, on a routine stop, he fails to get all the lug nuts tightened on his left rear tire. Elliott's forced to make another stop. He eventually finishes 16th. In the late stages of the race, Ward Burton spins and hits hard on the backstretch with 38 laps left, which changes the entire complexion of the race. A race that had been largely long green flag run suddenly turns into a sprint. And the guy who wins that final dash, how about Ernie Irvan? Having ignition trouble early on, he fights back through the field, holds off a charging Jeff Gordon, leaves Richmond with his second win of '96.
We were on the long run, before, and just trying to make sure we saved tires, and everybody started catching me. But when they had 30 to go, and Larry said, "You don't have to save no tires no more." I said, "Okay." So we had a great car.
From the cool and short night race in Richmond to the very hot and grueling 500 miles at Dover we go, where Bobby Labonte gets his first bush pole of 1996 for the MBNA 500. A long day starts to take its toll on some of the drivers as tempers flare. First, Derek Hope and Ernie Irvan get together while Irvan's leading at lap 200. Irvan's crew chief Larry McReynolds confronted Cope, blaming him for the crash.
Larry accosted me, so I have a real problem with that. I have a problem with Ernie Irvan and that whole bunch. Evidently, it wasn't my fault on that deal. He drove up into me, and he wrecked himself. Then he had the audacity to come over here and accost me. I'm not happy with it, and I'm going to have a talk with NASCAR about it. He's just lucky I didn't knock him on his butt.
Towards the end of the race, Jimmy Spencer, Wally Dallenbach, Brett Bodine, and Ted Musgrave get tangled up, and Spencer wants to tangle with Dallenbach, blaming him for the wreck. Then on the last lap, Michael Waltrip and Kyle Petty start banging for 8th place, a battle that Petty eventually won, and a battle that continued on pit road after the race. Meantime, Terry Labonte has a battle of his own, tire problems. 2 flat tires that force a green flag stop, puts the NASCAR Winston Cup points leader a lap down. The only battle for Jeff Gordon, staying out front as Gordon dominates the MBNA 500, leading more laps than any other driver en route to a comfortable victory, his 3rd in a row at the Monster Mile. Because of his teammates' 21st place finish, Gordon is the new NASCAR Winston Cup points leader.
There's still plenty of races left to go, and anything can happen. We've been in a championship battle before. We know how easy it is to gain and lose points at this point, and with this many races left. So, we're really not going to think about that. We're just going to think about doing our job and doing the best job that we can, and that's what we did today, and it paid off.
You can't get too excited or too upset when things go good or go bad. We just got to keep doing the same things we've been doing. We had a tough break today, and that's the way it goes. That happens from time to time. And you just got to go on from there and look forward to next week.
So Jeff Gordon, with 2 wins in the last 3 races, is now the new leader in the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship standings. Terry Labonte was up by 134 points 4 races ago. Now he's 81 behind.
And Dale Jarrett after Brickyard was 137 behind. He's now 3rd, 162 behind. Dale Earnhardt in 4th, 341 points behind Jeff Gordon. Mark Martin, 420 points behind Jeff Gordon. On to Martinsville, and for the 2nd time this year, it's the 43-car Bobby Hamilton leading the field to the green flag. Now this is a picture you'll see often when talking about the Haynes 500. Hamilton in front and Jeff Gordon in tow, not far behind, as the 2 circle NASCAR's smallest track in just that fashion for most of the afternoon. Early on, Terry Labonte has problems. The clutch rod from the clutch to the slave cylinder comes off. On a caution flag, Chief Mechanic Andy Graves dives in the car, hooks them together using vice grips. Labonte loses a lap, but now has a clutch and is the fastest car on the track. Labonte makes up the lap and then sets sail to chase down the leaders again. Meantime, Rick Mast, John Andretti, and Kyle Petty are all having great runs in the top 5. But on top, it's Jeff Gordon. Terry Labonte makes it all the way back to 2nd place, but can't catch his teammate. Bobby Hamilton, strong all afternoon, winds up 3rd. But for Gordon, it's win number 9.
I tell you, this is a meaningful win right here. To win at a short track like Martinsville, wow, you got to have a complete day.
Clutch linkage fell off of it, and they jumped in there and vice gripped it back, and it held until the last restart, and I didn't have a clutch at the last one there. I missed a shift, so it was a good run for us. We got the lap down. We made it back up. I was really surprised. That's hard to do, and then we led a lap and got the 5 points for that and came up 1 position short, but it was still a good run for us.
No question in my mind, performance of the day at Martinsville, Terry Labonte and his pit crew.
No, Andy Graves. They stuck him down in their car, and he fixed the clutch, only lost 1 lap, and later on, Labonte would make the lap up, finish 2nd.
But he finished 2nd to Jeff Gordon, and that's got to be getting frustrating for him.
Yeah, they're running so well, but yet every week it seems like Jeff Gordon finishes right in front of them.
And so the lead continues to be nickel and dimed up to the point that it's 81 now between the two. We come at this point to one of the more mixed emotions weekends of the season, the last race at North Wilkesboro.
You know, I think a lot of folks are going to be sad to see the racetrack go away. A lot of teams will be glad to see the racetrack go away. I personally am going to hate to see the racetrack go away. Folks, I grew up in Wilkes County. All my family's there, and they make the greatest barbecue chicken you've ever tasted.
It's kind of funny, memories of a particular area around a racetrack come back to food, because one of my favorite North Wilkesboro things was a little old coffee shop on the side of the highway. Best breakfast on the circuit. Unfortunately, we won't see those people much anymore. We weren't the only ones that had memories going into the North Wilkesboro race. The drivers had some memories they were sharing that weekend too.
Well, I got a lot of good memories, I guess, and bad memories because we run so many races there.
But it was unbelievable because I could hear the fans cheering me on when I was qualifying. I mean, the noise and the motor and everything didn't drown the fans out.
The two best beat me though. The last restart, Darrell Waltrip got me and Dale Earnhardt, and it was still an honor to take third.
Linda had a new car that day, so we didn't ride out in that. We rode out laying in the floor with the van with a blanket on top of us.
The North Wilkesboro Speedway has been a part of NASCAR's foundation and folklore since the late 1940s. Now, instead of highlights, North Wilkesboro will simply fade into Winston Cup history, leaving behind a dusty legacy of legends, leaders, and their love of the sport. In years to come, we may miss those moments at North Wilkesboro, but we'll always have our own special memories.
We were running really good, and I ran over something, cut a tire, and coming off of turn 4 and barely hit the wall. And the car came to a stop there and I got it refired. I didn't go until they threw the flag because I knew that, we were going to go a lap down. And so I sat there. I got trying to crank the car, got it cranked, and I sat there for a second. And he had the yellow flag in his hand. He dropped the flag, so I took off. And they didn't like it much, but that's what saved it for us, really. So I caught up on the flat tire, changed tires, and came back and won the race. Just one of those days. After that point, everything went right. The car ran great for us.
I think it was in 1988 or 89. I was leading the race with 1 lap to go. Jeff Bodine was right behind me. I was going into turn 1. He bumped me in the rear end, sent me up the racetrack. He took the lead. And as we come down the back straightaway, I slid right back in behind him, and I bumped him in turn 3 and shot him up the racetrack. I slid underneath him, won the race, and I looked up in the rearview mirror, and all I saw was people sliding all over the place. And then I come in victory lane, and some of Jeff's crew chief's wives hovered as I was pulling into victory lane, and they took their right hand and popped it through the window net at me. They were mad as a hornet. So there's been some real wild stuff happen in North Wilkesboro. I've won a lot of races there, and it's been a good track.
Earnhardt and I were racing, been battling pretty much most of the day, I think. Or I think Dale had a dominant car that day, then he faded at the end, and I came on pretty strong at the end. And as soon as I caught Dale, there was about 10 laps to go, and I kind of gave him a little nudge, let him know I was back there. And caution came out right after that, so it was a 10-lap shootout to the end. And I remember Dale didn't heat his tires up, didn't warm his tires up very good, so I was able to beat him on the restart a little bit. And drove off into turn 1, I got underneath of him. I was completely square with him going into turn 1. And his version, he's going to say that I went up on him, and my version is he came down on me. But make a long story short, we got together, spun going into turn 1. Neither one of us backed it in the fence. We just kind of went down in the corner, did 180, and slid up out of the groove. And about, seemed like a few minutes later, Jeff Bodine came by and won the race.
A lot of people were speculating that I wouldn't be able to run the whole race and that sort of stuff. We didn't know. It was a deal that we were just going to go in there and do the best job we could. And we had a car that would really run good on real long runs. And the car wasn't very good on the short run. So then the guys started short stopping the pit stops, and that put us out of sequence because our car was good for long 60, 70, 80 lap runs, and everybody started short stopping them. But we had a good day. It was an exciting day, and just a day that we'll remember. All of our race team will remember for a long time. And it's a shame, but the racetrack kind of goes away. But we're gonna have a lot of memories.
Sure did have a lot of memories at North Wilkesboro.
But I'm sure that these racetracks that we're moving on to will produce a lot of memories as well. The April date will go to the Texas International Raceway, and September to Loudon, New Hampshire.
But before we close the book on North Wilkesboro, got one more chapter to write. Ted Musgrave put the first line in that. He won the pole in qualifying Friday afternoon.
The shine on Ted Musgrave's nugget of history goes away quickly, as does his car's handling. Musgrave starts on the pole, but struggles all afternoon, eventually finishing 19th. Bobby Hamilton's having another great outing, running second behind Ernie Irvan. Those two get tangled up in a Kyle Petty spin at lap 71. Hamilton's damage is much less serious than Irvan's. Hamilton manages to finish 8th, while Irvan limps home to a 36th place run. Dale Earnhardt finally breaks through with a great outing. The Intimidator's strong all afternoon. He leads for a good bit in the mid to late stages of the race. It wasn't long before the inevitable happened. Jeff Gordon takes the lead, and yes, the win, his 3rd in a row, 10th on the season. More importantly, the very last NASCAR Winston Cup win at North Wilkesboro.
That's why I'm so excited, because I mean, this is North Wilkesboro. I'm not supposed to win at North Wilkesboro and Martinsville. I don't know what's going on. It's been crazy this year. But to be the last race, Winston Cup race that's going to be here, you know, it's like you feel sorry, but at the same time, you know, you're elated to go down in history in the record books. And I think these fans saw a great show today. That was one heck of a race all the way to the finish.
As we look at the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship standings after North Wilkesboro, how helpless does Terry Labonte feel?
Those wins will do it every time. Jeff Gordon on a rampage now leads Labonte by 111 and Dale Jarrett 182.
And Dale Earnhardt continues fading into the sunset, 351 points behind the leader, even though he had that good run at North Wilkesboro. For the second time in 4 weeks, it's Bobby Labonte, the man on the Busch pole. This time we're at Charlotte, though, and early on he opens up a big lead over Jeff Gordon. Lap 4, Todd Bodine loses the air from his spoiler and goes around the view from his older brother Brett's car. He does a 360, somehow keeps it off the wall and keeps going. Trouble for point leader Jeff Gordon. A cracked cylinder head and the car overheats. Gordon also gets bumped into the wall while limping around the track, and it's the wrong day to have a bad finish because his teammate Terry Labonte is dominant, leading for most of the afternoon with a strong car. It's not a very good day for Ernie Irvan once again. He spins, then gets popped hard by John Andretti. Irvan suffers a slight concussion, but he was okay. Robbie Gordon also takes a hard lick during the same wreck, nailing the inside retaining wall. Welcome to Winston Cup racing. Up front, Terry Labonte cruises to a huge win, over 4 seconds in front of second place Mark Martin. And he takes a huge chunk out of Jeff Gordon's points lead, now down to just 1.
We knew we couldn't have bad days, and we're going to have to fight real hard from here on out. It's unfortunate, you know. I guess we got to be grateful that we finished where we did with, you know, the motor problem that we could have blown up and not even finished, and then to get knocked in the wall there when just when things went bad, it went real bad. But hey, you know, we're going to keep our chins up. We're going to see what we're made of now and go on and see if we can't win this thing.
I told some guys earlier in the week, it's awful hard to gain 110 points on somebody, but it's not hard to lose 110, and we've all been there and we've all done that, and you know, we just went out today and you know, ran our own race and did the best we could, and Jeff had a problem, and you know, the points are pretty close, so these next 3 races are going to be tough.
As we check the standings after Charlotte, it's not a points race, but a point race. Jeff Gordon now up by only 1 over Terry Labonte, with Dale Jarrett still within striking distance, and Dale Earnhardt still not yet mathematically eliminated. Now we head to Rockingham with Dale Jarrett starting on the point. Jarrett entered the day saying he needed to lead every lap and win to have a shot at the championship, and early on it looked like he might do it. The story on this day would come in the pits. Several times on routine stops, Ricky Rudd's crew had problems ranging from stuck lug nuts to broken air guns. In fact, they even tried using a different pit crew, but nothing worked. Rudd would continually get to the front while running, then lose 10 or so spots in the pits. So on lap 315, the 7th and final caution of the day, brought out by Bobby Hillen, Jeremy Mayfield, and Wally Dallenbach, everybody pitted except Rudd, who stayed out and stayed in front, leading the final 74 laps and extending his personal streak of wins to 14 years in a row.
As the race progressed, our car got faster and faster, and we knew we'd have a car to beat, but we were constantly trying to dig out of poor track position on the restarts. We just had our guys just had a foul-up day in the pits. I don't know how to say anything other than that. They typically they don't have those kind of a days, but when we get running good like this, I don't know if it was just they got nervous, got the jitters or what, but you know, they just had an off day in the pits, and had a couple of guys come by and help us out on the 12 car. They stood in for us and were going to help us out a little bit, but you know, it all worked out at the end.
The championship battle takes a big shake-up. Jeff Gordon finds trouble at Rockingham, losing a lap early and struggling with handling problems all day. He winds up 12th.
Jarrett and Labonte had typically consistent runs, finishing second and third respectively. Terry Labonte now leads by 32 points over Gordon and 76 over Jarrett. At Phoenix, things seemingly take a turn for the worse for Terry Labonte. In practice on Friday, Labonte hits the turn 3 wall hard after the throttle sticks on his Kellogg Chevy. The end result, a broken bone in his left hand. In pain, Labonte qualifies 30th, but with a fast car, he starts charging to the front early in the Duraloop 500. Mark Martin once again appears to have the car to beat, but he and Derek Cope make contact. Cope, trying to avoid going a lap down, instead goes into the wall, and his day is over early. Again, this one is decided in the pits. With Martin fading late in the going, Bobby Hamilton makes a 2-tire stop. Jeff Bodine doesn't make a stop at all, and Hamilton, with fresher tires, scoots past Bodine, takes the lead. Yes, Richard Petty, you can look, the win, his first ever. Terry Labonte, broken hand and all, leads for a while and eventually finishes third. Jeff Gordon winds up fifth. Dale Jarrett finishes eighth, largely in part to this little skirmish on pit road with Ken Schrader. But in victory lane for the first time, it's Bobby Hamilton.
Well, there's a lot of Dale Earnhardt fans, Jeff Gordon fans, Terry Labonte fans, but every one of them are Richard Petty fans. I can't think of one person I've ever met that didn't like Richard Petty, and that goes a long way with me driving the race car. So I'm glad for them to get the car back up. I wanted to be the one to bring the car back to victory lane, and I was beginning to wonder if we was going to be able to do it before the season was out, but it feels real good.
Well, I'll tell you what, we had a great car today. The guys did a great job, and it's I don't know. I thought we had a shot at it there, and we changed right sides there at the end, and we should have left the old wore out ones on there better than the two we put on there, but that's the way it goes. So it was still a good run for us.
Terry Labonte actually seemed a little bit upset there, Benny, but he has no reason to be.
Alan, it was the most unbelievable performance I've seen in a long, long time. Broken hand, and Terry Labonte is left-handed. Broke his left hand on Friday and goes out there, qualifies 30th. You say, well, he's all done. But he wasn't all done. Comes from a 30th to the third place finish. Phenomenal job.
Took the lowest of lows, what could have been, and made it a very positive for his team heading into the final race. Now, Labonte's point lead heading into the Atlanta event, now 47 points over Jeff Gordon and 99 over Dale Jarrett. All Terry Labonte has to do in the final event, finish 8th or better, and the 96 championship is his.
And Alan, Terry's brother Bobby starts from the pole for the NAPA 500. And early on, Terry gets that 5 bonus points out of the way by leading on lap 7. Now, things seemingly took a bad turn for Jeff Gordon, as he has a problem with loose lug nuts on the left rear, and the 1995 champ loses 2 laps in the pits on a green flag stop. His title hopes in serious jeopardy.
Keep working on your rhythm. You can get them. You can get them, Jeff. We can do it.
But in championship fashion, Gordon makes up both laps and eventually takes the lead on lap 108. Just an amazing performance. Meanwhile, his teammate Labonte, well, just like his season has been, Labonte is consistent all day in Atlanta, never falling out of the top 10. Up front, both pole sitter Bobby Labonte and Ernie Irvan are the dominant cars. Irvan, however, finds trouble on lap 255 as a blown tire takes him out of the event. Bobby Labonte takes the lead for good on lap 287 and goes on to lead the final 41 laps, claiming his first victory of 1996. And with his brother's 5th place finish, Terry Labonte clinches the 1996 NASCAR Winston Cup title.
Thank goodness we've gone out as a winner here at Atlanta. We've did some good things this weekend, so that was great. And Terry won the championship. And like I said, that was the coolest thing I've ever done.
A look at the final NASCAR Winston Cup Series championship standings for 1996 shows Terry Labonte beating Jeff Gordon by 37 points in the end, with Dale Jarrett coming up 89 points short in his championship effort.
Dale Earnhardt trying for that 8th championship falls short. He finishes 4th, 330 points behind Labonte. Mark Martin did not win a race in 1996, but he finished 5th in the points, 379 back.
And as you look at the rest of the top 10, from 6th place Ricky Rudd back to 10th place Ernie Irvan, only 213 points separating all 5 of those drivers. Bobby Hamilton, by the way, cracking the top 10 for the very first time in his career. What a terrific Sunday in Atlanta for the Labonte family, but for championship contender Jeff Gordon, the Atlanta race in itself was a microcosm of his 1996 season.
The whole season seemed like the whole race at Atlanta, where we start off and bang, we get 2 laps down right off the start and have to come from behind. Then we've got one of the best cars where we can go out there and get 2 laps back. And now we're up there, battling for the win, leading the race. But then at the end we come up this short. That is our whole season right there.
And to put a finger on it, Gordon knows exactly the difference between his title run of 95 and his second place effort of 96.
95, nothing went wrong. I mean, it's like, other than maybe our last race at Atlanta, everything went our way when we needed it to fall in place. And this year, 96, it's like when we really needed it to go our way, it didn't. And, you know, that's just the way things work. Terry Labonte and that whole 5 team, they've been consistent all year long. They've done exactly what they needed to do. And you know, you got to take your hat off to them for that, because that's what it takes to win a championship.
Jeff Gordon was 13 years old when Terry Labonte won his first NASCAR Winston Cup title, and the 96 champ admits he may have been too young himself to appreciate winning the 84 championship.
The first championship was very very special, you know, and but to be honest with you, at the time I really didn't realize how important it was, maybe how big a deal it was to win the championship. And when you go for 12 years and don't win it, then you realize that, you know, that's a little bit bigger deal than I thought it was back then. And of course the sport's changed just so much, and it's grown so much, and it is bigger now than it was then.
With 12 years between titles and a lot of lean years in the middle, that makes the hoisting of this trophy feel even better.
Feels great, I'll tell you what. I was probably the most excited that I've ever been. And I didn't even know what to say. I mean, you know, I was really was kind of at a loss for words there, I guess. But it's pretty emotional, and it's been so long since the first championship, and then going through 3 or 4 years there, not even being able to win a race, and then joining this team and being able to win races and now win a championship was a dream come true.
True story. Bobby Labonte, earlier in the week before that Atlanta race, dreamed that he won the race and brother Terry won the championship at the same time. How about that?
And, you know, watching those two guys ride around the racetrack side by side to the applause of all those people, it really looked like a dream come true.
Be a day the Labonte family remembers for a long time to come. And I think the 1996 season will be something we remember for a while, too.
You know, it had just about everything. New teams coming in, winning races, a battle for the championship right down to the wire. And Earnhardt still trying to get that Daytona 500 and still trying to get that 8th championship. Well, that's going to be great down the road.
Had some great storylines in 1996. Wonderful year in NASCAR Winston Cup Series racing, and we hope that you've enjoyed our NASCAR Winston Cup Series Year in Review video. For Benny Parsons, I'm Alan Bestwick.